Let's talk about Adani first. So, what is the blame that is being labeled against Modi? That he somehow favored a capitalist from India. Now, let's answer the numbers part first. Anyone who's interested to study Adani Enterprises, just look at its share price growth between 2004 and 2014, and then 2014 to 2023 in terms of percentage. Number one. Number two, if Adani is indeed a super villain, as the Congress likes to claim, why do business with him in Rajasthan, in Chhattisgarh? Walk the talk, practice what you preach. Charity begins at home. If Adani is indeed such a criminal, he's looting the money of the public of India, he's looting the money of LIC. That's the claims they make on national television every night. Why sanction projects in your state? Number one. Now let's come to the philosophical answer. Shreya, if you look at the greatest economies, be it China, which is on one end of the democracy spectrum, and America, which is on the other end of the democracy spectrum, all the governments in China, the single party, which is CCP, in America, Republicans and Democrats, they always have backed their wealth creators. This is this mentality that we have. I don't know, we inherited from our Nehruvian socialism, we inherited from our thinking of Sarkar is my bap, or whatever it is. We somehow think that the government lobbying for a wealth creator in India, based in India, employing in India, paying taxes in India is a bad idea. So when that news of the Indian government lobbying for Adani in Sri Lanka came out, I don't know how true that news is, but let's say that did happen. Let's assume for a second. Why is it so wrong for an Indian government which is strong, which can flex its geopolitical muscle to lobby for any big company in any part of the world? Wasn't Xi Jinping lobbying for Huawei in India? Hasn't the US president lobbied for several multinationals in different parts of the world? Should I guess which is the biggest lobby, which is the biggest pro China lobby in America? Of all things, it's the Wall Street. So I don't know why we have this mentality that, oh, if the government is backing a capitalist, there is some bad idea, there is some evil going on, there is something wrong about it. Now, coming to the Modi Adani issue, did Modi back Adani? He can't back Adani on a personal level. We are not in the era of phone banking where Narendra Modi will pick up his phone and call up PNB and say, Arey, ऐसे loan sanction कर दीजिए. That was the UPA thing, and that is what got us into the twin balance sheet problem. What happened here was Adani Enterprises was a company listed on the stock market. Now, for all private companies, debt is inevitable. You pick up money from the bank, you invest it into projects, you generate profits, you pay it to your investors, you pay it back to the bank, and the cycle moves on. That's the simplest way of how a business works. You might be employing 10 people, you might be employing 10 million people. Doesn't matter. Now, a short seller comes up with a report and the market takes it seriously because that short seller has a history. But that group is a short seller. They are not a think tank. They are not a government. They are not representing any government. They are not representing any business lobby. They are a group of short sellers. That's all they are. In 2008, when the financial crisis happened, there were a lot of short sellers, Shreya, who were shorting the house market because they believed that the house prices are going to crash. And when Lehman indeed failed, when the entire TARP plan came into being, where the US Treasury had to bail out the Wall Street banks, these people made tons and tons of money. For anyone wanting to know more, I would recommend The Big Short. It's a brilliant movie on the subject. So short sellers are very common in the markets. The governments somehow can find a way to regulate them, fight them, resist them. That's a different matter. But in Adani's case, it was a self-proclaimed short seller report that came out. The market took it seriously, took it on face value. The Adani was not very prompt with their response. The stock price tanks. Another very normal thing in the stock market. People lost their minds as if no other company in the history of finance and business has ever lost its stock market value in such a short time. You look at what was happening to Netflix in 2020, 2021, 21, 22 rather. They had reached humongous highs during the pandemic. Their share price touching $700. They came down to at one point to 180. They came down. Look at what happening to Meta, the layoffs. You look what happened to Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, all of these big tech companies. And it has happened several times. It's not an anomaly. Companies do lose their stock market value, but no one loses their mind over it. It's a risk the investors are taking, it's a risk the market is taking, it's a risk those businesses are taking. Nevertheless, people made a huge hue and cry about Adani's stock market crash. Then they had a problem with LIC investing its money in Adani, even though LIC came out with a statement that all our investments are still in the green. They retracted their argument about public money being lost. The retail investor money in Adani was too little for anyone to make a difference. And even then, even after the short seller report and the whole tanking, over a period of 5 years, the stock was still making profits for people who had invested, say, 2, 3 years ago. So there was no problem. But then they somehow wanted to do a Rafale again, and it became Modani, which is Modi and Adani. Now, Rahul Gandhi says there are shell companies through which Adani is investing money in India. Mahua Moitra, though she's blocked me on Twitter, put out a tweet saying offshore entities of Adani have invested money in Adani via FDI, something on those lines. Does she know that it's actually allowed? It's legal to do so. It's legal to do so. And Adani hasn't, so far as it has been proved or not proved, committed any crime. But Rahul Gandhi says there are shell companies. Okay, if you know so, where is the paperwork? Where is the financial trail? Because if you're saying that Adani is in rerouting money or evading taxes via shell companies, that's a very serious charge to make. Forget the Modi community taking Rahul Gandhi for a defamation. If Adani enterprises decide to do so, that would be very tricky. That would be very tricky. So we don't see any paperwork. We keep hearing the rhetoric, Modi Adani, but we never see any concrete evidence. So that is what is happening. But the other aspect of it. Now, will the people of India buy it? Shreya, I've been working on a book and it's due to be released later this year, which covers the macro perspective of the work done by this government. And I've been visiting several parts of the country for it for a while now. I've been in Odisha, in rural Odisha, which is not a BJP stronghold. I was in Sikkim very recently, which is again not a BJP state. There is, of course, the MP coming from there, but it's not a BJP state, typical BJP state. What are the people saying there? Women on the ground do not care for Adani, do not care for what BBC says, do not care for a Credit Suisse report, do not care for a Hindenburg report. What has transformed their lives in the last 9 years is a RuPay debit card. Something as trivial as that. Something as trivial as an LPG cylinder, which we probably take for granted. Something as trivial as a toilet that we've never lived up without. Something as trivial as piped water connection to their homes, which saves them 2 hours every day under the sun. People on the ground, the rural population, 800, 900 million people of India, are looking at that aspect of governance and they're very happy about it. Even though some state governments have tried to be a little cheeky and rebranded all those, development and works done as their own, but the people are able to see right through it. What a lot of people in Delhi media do not realize, Shiran, I'll tell you after doing a lot of debates on television for the last 2 years, people in Delhi and Noida, to be more specific, not a lot of all of them, but some of them, most of them rather, believe that what they think is a very major issue is what the people of India also believe is a major issue. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. What we see on Twitter is not what the people on the ground care about. You should see the kind of acceptance Narendra Modi has got because of something as trivial as a road that was repaired that goes to the China border in Sikkim. You should see how that has impacted tourism and how the local drivers feel about it. To give you one example, you should see what a Jal Jeevan mission or a water tank coming up in a village does to the women of that village in terms of their political inclination. This is the welfare we are talking about. Now, one thing you can call Modi several things, but people on the ground know, even in the media know, you cannot call him corrupt. People know that, and people have accepted that. It's not blind. Probably you can call it blind trust in the man, but he's proven it for the last 9 years. So, if you go out again with this, array, Chaukidar chor hai, Modani hai, ye hai, wo hai, people are not going to buy this argument. I don't think even people within the Congress buy that argument because if they did, they would have distanced themselves from Adani. And again, brings me back to the same point. There is someone in the Congress who wants Rahul Gandhi to fail big time. Because why would you do another chaukidar chore hai after apologizing for it, after losing elections because of it? Why would you make the same mistake again at the cost of losing another national election? Think about it.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.